Okay, and welcome back to another episode of Maths with Mr. Mitchell. So, in this lesson, we're going to look at a few little applications of equations of straight lines. And now, from our prior learning, we should have in our toolkit this general form of an equation of a straight line, which is y equals mx plus c. We should know that m is obviously the gradient or steepness of a straight line, and c being the y-axis intercept. So basically where the graph, the straight line graph, passes through the y-axis. And we always know that when it passes through the y-axis, x value will always be equal to 0. So if I look at this little graph to the left here, we can see straight away that the y-axis intercept is at 0, minus 6. So the y-axis intercept is at minus 6. And we can see that every time we go across 3 units in the x direction, we go up 6 in the y direction. So our gradient, which we should know, which is rise over run, is 6 over 3, which is 2. So from that, we can see that the equation of the straight line should be y equals 2x minus 6. Okay. And one of the really important things is that, as you can see, the line is going from the left up into the right, then that's a positive steepness. Now, sometimes we're asked to identify the gradient and y-axis intercept of a straight line before we move on to the next question. So I might say that we want to find a line that's parallel to it or perpendicular to it. So we need to be able to rearrange and put it into this gradient y-intercept form. So it's important that when we're asked to identify the gradient or the y-axis intercept, we need to rearrange first. So I want to make y the subject, so I get 3y equals minus 2x plus 24. I then need to divide everything by 3, so y equals minus 2x plus 24, or divided by 3, which we then can write as y equals minus 2 over 3x plus 24 divided by 3 is 8. And there we have the equation of our straight line. And we can find that the gradient, now often the classic mistake is people will say the gradient is minus 2 over 3x. That's not true. The gradient never has that x value in, or x coefficient in, or x value in it, so it's always just minus 2 over 3. And we know that the y-axis intercept, where it passes the y-axis, is at 8. Now this gradient of minus 2 over 3 means that every time I go across in the x direction 3 units, or our run, we're going to go down in the y direction 2 units. Okay, so that's really important that you understand that. That's going across 3 units in the x direction and down 2 units in the y direction. Right, in the next question, it gets a little bit tricky. It says, if a line L1 passes through the point 0, 4, or 0, minus 4, and is parallel to the line L2, which passes through the 2 points 3, minus 6, and minus 2, 9, what is the equation of line L1? Now, it's really important that we identify this key point. This key point of 0, minus 4 is, in fact, the y-axis intercept of line L1, and we know that's minus 4. So I then now need to think, if L1 is parallel to this line L2, it's going to have the same gradient. So parallel lines have the same gradient. So let's find the gradient of L2. And we should have that the gradient formula is m equals y2 minus y1, the difference in the y values, divided by the difference in the x values. So remember, it's really important to always label your coordinates. So I'm going to label this x1, y1, x2, and y2. So let's substitute into our formula to find the gradient of line 2. So we're going to get 9 minus 6. I always bring my best friends, brackets, when I'm substituting into the formula, so I don't make careless mistakes with directed numbers. And minus 2 minus 3. And I get minus 9 minus 6 is minus, or positive, sorry, positive 15 over minus 2 minus 3 is minus 5. So we get a gradient of minus 3. So that's very important. So therefore, if parallel lines have the same gradient, I can then say the gradient of line 1 is also equal to minus 3. And going back to the original part, we know the y-axis intercept. We know the y-axis intercept of line 1 is, in fact, minus 4. So the equation of line 1 is y equals minus 3x minus 4.